Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy Boissinova, keeping it lit with Nova Records here, making another tutorial for you guys on this fine Saturday evening, morning, whenever you're doing this. Maybe you're naked, maybe you're eating cereal, who knows. We got another tutorial coming at you live with an FL Studio beat today. Sorry I got this lens so close to my face. I need a new lens that goes further, but you can see my arm is fully extendo, and I'm rocking the hat today because in Toronto it is humid more than a. So let's get into the tutorial. Alright guys, so today let's talk about mixing your crappy beats. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about my master chain just for beats, not vocals or anything. How do you get a great 4-bar loop, 8-bar, 16, 32, whatever? How do you get this song out and ready for purchase? And a lot of people are kind of confused about mastering and, you know, loudness levels, RMS, LUFS, what does it mean, what matters? And to be honest, nobody knows. I don't even know, but I have a good sense, and I think that's the thing. As long as you practice and you keep going on and you really care about learning about it, you're gonna figure it out. And in time, you start to get a grip on, this is loud enough, this is what this person is doing, so you take their song and then you throw it into Logic, and then you actually analyze it with a spectrum analyzer and the loudness meter and all that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty dorky, and a lot of people out there aren't as dorky as me, and that's why I kind of run a small record label, Nova Records, and a lot of people just hand me their stuff and they're like, I don't know what to do with this. What I want to talk to you guys about today is at least getting a grip on finishing your beats and getting them to an appropriate loudness, and talking about low-end management, presence, EQ, and compression, and limiting. 5 things you can do to help get your beats ready for the beat stores and for purchase. Or if you just want to keep them for yourself, get them to a level that's not going to blow people's face off and don't have any surprises when it comes to getting everything out into the streaming world. Alright, so let's get to it. So what we got is a finished kind of trap beat. It's really creepy, kind of like dark south side, like 808 Mafia type vibe, like Metro Boomin, almost like creepy psychedelic type trap. What I want to show you guys today is basically how to finish it. So I'm going to take a listen, and a lot of it's by ear, so I mean, a lot of this just comes down to the bottom line of just doing it a bunch and like having that repetition and that skill under your belt. But don't be afraid to just mess up and make mistakes. Like who's really like on your job, like telling you, oh, you can't make a mistake. Get out there, make a mistake. It's the only way you're gonna win. So basically what I got here is the whole beat. You know, that's a whole different video, but what I got here is my master chain on the left side of my screen. That's where I put it. So I'm gonna click right here on master, and I already figured out what the auto key, that's a plugin by Antares, and I basically use that just to figure out what key it's in, so I know when I go to sell it online. It's an E minor, this says C major, but it's an E minor, and it's 112 BPM, so when I'm saving the file, I'm actually writing that in the name, and then underscore 112 underscore BPM underscore C major or E minor. And so that's typically how I save my beats. And now from this point, it's kind of listening. So what I like to do is just see what the bass content is doing. I'll usually like check out some other songs on Spotify and see how their bass feels as a reference, and I can't stress it enough. Referencing is super important when you're mastering your beats or your songs. So another thing, so that basically is the low end referencing tip and trick that I like to do for getting my low end sorted out. And for the top end and presence side of things, I'll usually just generally turn down the volume really quiet to like see where all the levels are, and so I can hear if the hi-hats are like jumping out stupid and like if the snares are like too crazy. But I like to hear them a decent amount, because to me that's like definitely the coolest part of the mix is all the top end content. Alright, so the general bottom end, top end balance is kind of working out in our favor. So basically what I like to do after I take the presence and the low end and balance those two together, make sure the mids are clear enough and there's not a lot of muddiness going on. So like synths and snares clashing, any kicks, stuff like that. So I'm gonna check for those. Yeah, and so for me, I just personally have like on my master chain, I just got this EQ, which is like a mastering EQ. Plug-in Alliance sells it. It's got like a high pass filter at 24 hertz, just because that's like the really low mud. But yeah, I have a little bit of shelving in the bottom end. And honestly, for the most part, like the EQ is something that you're just gonna have to do by ear. And I mean, I believe in you. Everybody can do EQ if you work on it hard enough. You're just gonna get better over time. And sometimes when you're in a hurry and you just need somebody to mix it, you send it off to a mastering engineer or somebody that can do it for a reasonable price, that's not going to rake you over the coals. If you need anything, obviously DM me on Instagram. I do like really cheap mastering. Basically, you're just gonna go with the compressor here and like work with that after the EQing's kind of done. So EQ, compression is the second step. And yeah, like I mean, this plugin's like pretty expensive normally, and I mean this one it's a bit cheating. Like it's kind of unfair if you don't have like certain plugins. This one has this air bass function, which basically scoops and like gives like a lot of really sub like the really low end, and gives like a little bit of top end and kind of smiley faces it, but like in the super sub lows and then super high end. But it does it in a way that's like super smooth and harmonic, and like kind of adds like different variation levels like across the board, and like has different flavors of like how it does it. So yeah, I'm just a super big fan of this SPL compressor. Plug-in Alliance sells it. Super dope. Shout out Plug-in Alliance. Shout out SPL. Making super crazy gear, and I've actually seen the real one in somebody's studio and watched them work on it and got to like get a feel for it. So I'm just like a big fan of it, and it's got headroom knob up here, so you get more transients basically. High pass sidechain filter, so the compressor's only being activated like if you go to like, you know, 120 hertz, that's what's actually going to be setting off the compressor, because a lot of times the bass just like makes the compressor go super crazy. So I just like that set at 120, and then the mono maker basically makes everything mono up until a certain frequency. So you see here at 20 hertz, we're looking at this and we're, you know, going up to 120. And honestly, I just mainly use your ears for this. You can use a spectrum analyzer if you're not sure, but in my personal opinion, I think it's better to use your ears for the main deciding factor if it sounds good or not. So I'd say leave this at 120 to, you know, like I'd say like 100 to like, you know, 200 at the max. But you can do whatever you want, you know, it's just music. There's nobody gonna shoot you over making a wrong mistake. And so the stereo width is a really cool knob. It actually sounds super fire on this, because a lot of times compressors will like group everything and just like kind of like put it all in the middle and glob it and take away your stereo width. So oftentimes people after the compressor have to put a stereo widening, something like an isotope stereo imager or the S1 from Waves or whatever, but this one has one built in, and so it's really nice that they've thought of all this stuff. And then at the very end right here you got the parallel mix, and that's super tight for just adding it in. A lot of times I'm just gangster and I like to leave it at like mostly 100% and just back off a tiny bit. I don't see there's like a point in like doing this and that. I like to commit and just go pretty much 100 and then just like actually use my ears, or just don't use it at all, because you don't have to use compression for your out. Most of the time in rap especially, you're gonna want to compress your music because you want it loud, right? I have my limiting going on, so let's check out what that's doing right now. sick. So everybody's seen the Pro L2 from FabFilter, super gangster. If you haven't, go check it out. I don't need to leave a link in the description because you've all heard of it. Yeah, those guys are super dope, making crazy plugins. Skrillex uses all their stuff. It's amazing, amazing, transparent stuff. Lots of dope presets. I like to use a limiter in tandem with a loudness meter. What I've just been loving lately is the Waves loudness meter, WLM, and that personally, like I looked for a long time, and I use different ones, and I mean I use different limiters, I use different compressors. A lot of people use the SSL compressor, most people have that one, and they just leave, you know, this kind of backtracking, but they leave the attack time on as slow as it can go. I'll leave a little image up here of the settings if you want to copy it for standard SSL bus comp mastering. They'll leave the attack time on slow, the release on medium, and they'll like not go crazy on the threshold, but give it a bit of a bump so you see the needle move a little bit. And that's honestly just making sure that not all the peaks are just getting slammed down to nothing, that they're just catching some of the peaks. Like that's why you want it to like just bump a little bit on the needle. After that, they're just gonna leave the gain or turn it up to about +3. After +3, it starts to sound like trash. This is the Waves loudness meter, and it's mainly meant for film. I kind of just leave it on the default preset because half of this stuff is just so crazy. And Dave Pensato used to say this is a little bit above my pay grade, and I agree with that. LUFS stands for loudness units full scale. That takes into account, like, a lot of people used to use RMS, and I'm not going to get too crazy into the metering, but basically RMS used to mean they would take every single part of the frequency spectrum and calculate your bass with your top end and your mids, and how much headroom it's eating up equals the RMS level. So if you have a ton of bass, it's going to say your loudness is, you know, -9 or -6. Like -9 is like a great level, but if you have a ton of bass and you play it on an iPhone, well, then nobody's gonna be able to like hear your music because all the bass is eating up the headroom. More of an old concept, so I just like to use LUFS. And for like a good point of reference, Spotify requires you to submit your stuff at -13 LUFS. I like to master my stuff a little bit louder because why not? I don't like distortion, but I do like it to be just really loud and globby. That's kind of my style. I'm just gonna try and get this to about -11 LUFS. Yeah, and so what I ended up with is a result of -12 LUFS, and I'm happy with that. And honestly, I'll just make sure, you know, the in fades out and ends, and just any last EQ little mix mistakes or anything that I just got to go fix, because I'm mastering a beat. I still have all the stems in front of me. It's a mix master situation, and as much as people want to be purists and say you can't master while you mix, it's like, no, I think that's a little bit of an old kind of telltale thing. And the funny thing is, it's gone full circle, is that in an Al Schmidt book, like behind the music. He was talking about how there never used to be mastering engineers, and the recordist and the mix engineer basically mastered the song. He was the final line of defense before the music came out. Alright, y'all, thanks so much for watching. I gotta go out with some friends because we are going downtown to see some live stand-up comedy. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Much love. Thanks for watching these videos. My name is Boissinova. Love you guys so much. It's been really fun making these videos. I hope you guys are enjoying making music. And stay tuned for more. I got some guests coming next week. Should be on the YouTube vlog. And yeah, much love. Boissinova, Nova Records. Peace. Been searching for